Hi everybody, Larry Graves here. Do I have a story to tell you? Sit down, take your shoes off, and sit a spell. I might need to drink while I tell this story. It's just water. This is my GM recall story. There's 2 or 3 parts to it, so this might be a fairly long video, so hopefully you watch it all, and then I would love your comments below. And I had previously done this on my other channel, The Challenges of Life, but I didn't tell the whole story. This story is now completely done, as far as I know. About 3 months ago, I received a letter from GM because there was an ignition recall. As a lot of you might know, it's a pretty big recall on the Saturn Ion and other cars. I have a Saturn Ion 2006, and when I got the letter they said they don't have a new switch for it yet, and so they had to wait for the parts. So there was really nothing I could do, although they said to take all of the keys off of the ring and just have the key, the one key, in the ignition. And I guess because of this ignition problem there had been deaths in the past, and of course GM was hiding the problem for many years. And then about a month ago I received a second letter and they said that the part was in, so great. I was going to make an appointment the next day for my car. And so that day I went to the mall about 10 miles away from here, and when I came back from the mall I went to start my car and it would start and it would die. And so I would turn the switch on again and start it up and it would start and it would die again. And the third time, luckily, it did start. Then I drove home and I pulled into my parking lot and turned off the car, and the only problem is the car wouldn't turn off. I could not budge the key at all. The key would not move. I tried to turn it off for a good 5 minutes without, breaking the key, because they only have the one key. And then I finally decided, well, I'll have to take it to a local auto shop. And they tried for a good 20 minutes, half an hour, to turn off my car and get the ignition key out. And they couldn't. And so the owner finally suggested what to do when I got home in order to turn off the car. And it was just to take out a certain fuse under the hood. And so I did that. So the next morning I was going to make an appointment for my car at a local GM dealership. But just before I did, I went to my car and I went to open the car, and of course the car is dead, so my key holder wouldn't open up the car. And there was no way to get into my car because they only had the one key. So, to make a long story longer, I got the car towed into the GM dealership, and it was paid for by GM because it all stemmed from the ignition problem. And they said that my car would be in the shop for about a month, which really surprised me. And they didn't have any GM cars for rent there because there have been so many recalls, so many people renting other cars. And so they went through the Enterprise rent-a-car place. And so I got a car from them. 2013, I forget the name of it, but I'll post it here somewhere, and with a picture of the car. So I only had the car for a weekend, 3 days in total about, and then I got a phone call that my car was ready. It was at 8 in the morning. And so I took the rental car right in to the GM dealership. I didn't know. I figured because they were connected with Enterprise, I could just drop it off there. And they didn't seem to have a problem with it, and I gave the guy the key and he gave me my key and I drove off happily, and that's the end of the story. I wish. About 5-6 hours later, I get a message on my cell phone that I had put a large dent in the bumper of the car I rented. And I know that I personally didn't do it because I would have known hitting something. And I can promise, may God strike me down as I speak, if I knew I damaged the car. I didn't damage the car, and I never saw any damage when I took it back. Now, when I did rent the car at Enterprise, I was asked if I wanted their insurance, and I said no, I have my own car insurance, whatever. And I didn't feel I had to pay anything. The rental was free, by the way. It's paid by GM. I should have mentioned that. But I didn't want to pay anything for the insurance because I haven't damaged a car in 30 years. So of course I'm all stressed out about this supposed damage to the car. I went into the Enterprise Rental Center the next day to talk to them, and they said yes, I had damaged the car, and the car wasn't there. It was at the GM dealership being repaired, and they said I could go in, I could drive there and see it for myself. And it's like, why the hell should I have to drive there to see it myself? Why isn't it? You guys wanted me to come in to talk. Why isn't the car here for me to see? That's what I think, at least. But the one woman did have pictures on her cell phone, so I saw a couple of crappy pictures. And I just told them that there is no way that I caused the damage. Maybe somebody did hit me in a parking lot, but I know nothing about it. And I just feel, since this is all stems from the stupid GM recall, why the hell should I have to pay for anything? And so I talked to quite a few people about this, and more than one person said that I should just ignore them. If they send me a bill or whatever for the damage, just ignore it. And so that's what I did for a couple of weeks. And I got a bill or two in the mail. I figured it was a bill, but I never opened it. And then one day I was at my brother-in-law's, and he opened it. And I was thinking the damage would be $2,000 or $3,000. I don't know. I don't know that much about cars, but I was thinking it would be quite the hefty bill. And the first thing he says to me is, "You're fucked." And he said, "Whatever you do, don't do nothing." And so I ended up asking him, well, how much is the bill? And it was $625. And I was actually almost relieved that it was only a few $100s. So I was still thinking of fighting it and going to GM dealership and asking, well, I returned the car at 8 in the morning, and then I never got a phone call until the afternoon. Who's to say something didn't happen with that car between the time I left it there at the GM dealership and they phoned me in the afternoon? But I did sign a contract, and I'm responsible for the car until it is back at the Enterprise parking lot. And that was the other thing too, is I was kind of surprised later on, thinking it over, that the GM person didn't say, whoa, before you go, let's have a look around this rented car and see if there's any damage. But he didn't. He just gave me my keys and I left happily. I was thinking of getting legal aid, but I found out, looking on the internet, that I make a bit too much money for legal aid, and so I can't afford to pay for a lawyer, and so that was out of the question. And I was thinking of, going to GM, as I said, or going back to Enterprise and trying to fight it. And then I was just so stressed out over it that I said, frig, I'll pay it. So I paid it. But I told them at the Enterprise rental car place that I did not damage the car. And I said maybe somebody did run into it in a parking lot, but I never saw the damage. I never noticed it. And they said that most of the cars that are damaged there happen in parking lots. One other thing is, that was kind of funny, is when I did rent the car there and we had the walk around for any damage before I took the car, I asked him, just out of curiosity, I said, do you have any cars brought back damaged? And he said, all the time. And he pointed to one that was damaged. So, and I've also read online about these rental car scams, but I can't accuse them of that. I have no idea. All I know is I didn't cause the damage. But what really made me realize I better pay for this is I went into my parking lot a couple of weeks ago and I saw another car that looked like it had the same kind of dent in the bumper as the car rental I had. And I'm thinking, maybe somebody in this parking lot did hit the car, and so I'm responsible for it. Although GM is the ones that really should pay for all of this, because as I said, it all stems from this stupid recall. And to top it all off, during all of this, I receive another letter from GM that there is a recall for the power steering, but they don't have the part in yet. So yes, I'm driving a unsafe car. And I'm not really looking forward to when they do get the part in, because what am I going to do? Go to another rental place? And I don't know. So I don't know what I'm going to do when that does happen. So anyway, that's my story, most of it. And I would love your comments below. Maybe I'm guilty. Maybe I'm guilty. I signed the contract. You might say, well, you signed the contract. You didn't go with their insurance. But I disagree myself. So let me know in the comments section below, or if you've had your own hellish experiences with this recall. Thanks for watching.